Welcome to Not Just Another Geek Podcast, the series. I am Steve.
I'm Christopher.
Alright, let's dive right in.
Okay.
Arrested Development, episode 6. Season 1, episode 6. Visiting hours. We are going by the Netflix broadcasting.
It even confused us.
If you look on IMDb, it says it was shot as episode 5, but this came airing-wise episode 6. So, wrap up. What's the summary?
He needs information, Michael Jr. information, so he is trying to get his assistant to tell him, but she doesn't, so she gets Job to do it. He gets Job to do it. She tells him.
Yeah, he gets Job to do it, alright. A couple times.
And then she ends up telling him in the end. And then that's kind of really...
Well, and then...
They're going to marriage counseling.
And then Senior tells him...
Yeah.
Because Michael gets him a family visit, let's say, with his wife, Lucille. And he thought it was his secretary, because they were having an affair. And
every Friday, because Daddy's horny, is what he says.
Daddy horny, Michael. Daddy horny.
Daddy horny, Michael.
That's a good line. So he has to have Job sleep with the secretary at the jail while he's sleeping with his mother.
And then Job gets arrested again.
Right, and sees his parents making out. Well, having sex.
Making out.
Having sex. Don't do that. Having sex. And he can't see that once you see it. So, what do you think overall of the episode?
4. I laughed a lot.
This one's a good episode.
Yeah. 4.5.
Kitty is the name of the secretary. You'll learn her name this episode. Kitty and Lucille are also an archer together as voices. That's a big...
Wait, which one does she do?
Which one?
I know Mom does the mom in Archer.
Yeah, she's a secretary.
Oh, and she's actually the second in the...
Yeah.
You should do that next.
The George Michael is afraid to go to prison because he watched Oz thinking it was the musical, not the HBO series about prison life. That's pretty funny. When he strikes out, so the reason why George Michael becomes afraid of prison is there's a softball game, and it went on too long, and George Michael Sr. goes up to the umpire. He's like, "I'll make it worth your while if you just call this next one a strike, no matter what." And he calls it a strike, and they beat him to death. He's like, "Oh no, that's a bad strike 3."
It was the 14th inning, and tensions were running a little high.
I'll give you $1,000 you call the next one a strike. My knees are killing me.
No batter! No batter here! No batter! Strike 3! No batter! Strike 3, my ass! Down in the yard!
Michael Pippin, his mom's his father. Also, the psychiatrist is
Better Call Saul.
Yeah, I forget his name, but him and Tobias were in a sketch show together called Mr. Show on HBO. So this is their first time kind of acting together since that show dissipated. So it's very funny. Those two work well together.
Yeah.
The last line of the episode I thought that was funny when George Michael Sr. goes, "I might have committed some light treason," which is, I think, is hilarious.
There's a good chance I may have committed some light treason.
There's no light treason. Treason is treason. So we'll get more into that as it goes. But what did you?
4.5.
No, what lines?
When George Michael Jr. is sitting in the car, the stair car waiting, George Michael went back in to talk to his dad, and the prisoner runs up the stair car.
George Michael is just the kid. Michael is the son, and George Michael Sr. is the father. You keep on getting them confused.
I hate these names. The child sits in the car, and the prisoner runs up the
George
stairs.
Michael.
Prisoner runs up the stair car and escapes.
Oh yeah, they start escaping, and he's too scared to do anything because of Oz. And you see you see the security guard run up and jump over and start shooting. It's pretty funny.
Why don't you just stay out here and relax, pal, okay? Watch the softball game. Okay, I'll be right back.
That was your favorite part?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the daddy horny Michael's line kills me every time he says it. The way he says it's just amazing. Alright. Yeah, I'll give it a solid 4.
Yeah.
4.5. It's a really funny episode. Especially as the last weeks I didn't enjoy as much. But this week's is very, very good. Wow, that's a quick one. There's no real good trivia on this one, so let's get that for today.
And now we're moving on.
And now we're moving on to Bond.
Doco Siri Bond.
So we're going to do the documentary Becoming Bond, and then we'll go over her Majesty's Secret Service. So I asked Chris to write down what he thought before watching the documentary.
Where did I put that?
What he thought her Majesty's Secret Service, if it was successful, not successful.
Oh, yeah.
If people liked him. So before watching, let me ask the question first. Relax, listen, calm. Before you watch the documentary, what did you write down? Did you think that this Bond movie was successful?
No.
Okay. Don't look at me, you look at them.
No.
Did you think people liked him as a Bond, though, even though it wasn't successful?
The only reason I said no was because looking at the movie, he did one movie. So before that, I didn't know why. So I thought people didn't want him back. So I wrote no.
Well, that's the overwhelming general consensus that people don't know. So that's why I wanted to watch Becoming Bond. So what did you think? What did you think of the documentary as a whole? Like, the way it was done?
It was done very well. It's written like an episode of Drunk History.
Almost, yeah, but it's not written. He is very much telling his story.
Yeah, it's just the way they'll cut to shots of
yeah, it's
people
acted out of him talking over what's going on.
And then if he's talking, they'll have the other guy just move his mouth and act like he's speaking.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes the actor is talking and they talk to the camera. It's a very well done documentary.
Yeah.
I mean, it flies by. It's only like an hour and a half.
Didn't even feel like it.
It is on Hulu if you want to watch it. I would highly recommend it. What are some of the things that you learned from the doc?
I just like to point out these chapter names are very good. But I think my favorite chapter is they called it The Road to Pussy Galore. Mm-hmm. And that was a good chapter. I just thought the title was funny.
Well, because of Dr. No.
Mm-hmm. No, really.
Just making sure you know. Remember.
I don't really know. I just also wrote that he's really horny all the time.
Well, it's the 60s. He's a male model. He was very famous for being a male model. His story is amazing. Yeah. He was a used car salesman. Well, first he was a mechanic, and then he saw how much used car salesmen were getting girls and money. So he did that. And then just off a cuff, somebody thought he looked good in California when he came over to see his girlfriend. Was it California?
He said he would buy
London.
a car.
I forget where he was.
He said he would buy a car if he let the guy
take pictures of him.
Headshots.
And he thought he was gay. He's like, no, I'm not gay. He's like, no, this is for...
They nod to that.
You can model. Yeah, they do. So he went to a modeling agency. They saw him. They liked him. He went out on a date with a agent because his friend asked him to go out on a date with because he already had another date. So he kind of liked that, and she thought he'd be good for Bond. He basically broke in and lied about his resume.
That's why he basically got it, because he did Bond in real life. Kind of. Yeah,
kind of. But yeah, we'll get to when we talk to Bond, but his life story is amazing. It's so sad about his first love and how that kind of did not really pan out. And you can see the pain in his eyes when he talks about it. Yeah. But he's very happy. He's happily married now, and things work out for a reason. But you can still tell that there's a little, there's still a little pain there.
I found it funny. There's one scene where when he's talking to the guy that picks the bonds, he's on the phone with somebody and saying no to certain bonds, and he says no to Roger Moore.
Yeah.
And then he ends up doing seven films.
Testing went on for 4 months for Bond. Did we learn that from this one?
He was
good.
He was offered offered to do.
Wait, before we get there, hold on.
Oh, okay.
They had a lady of the night, I guess you would call her, and like a handler from the studio. I don't know what it was, to see if he
was gay.
Would make love to her.
They wanted to find out if he was gay, so they had somebody watch him have sex with a woman.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a great, funny scene though. It's very,
He's
very
just
funny.
There reading the newspaper.
It's very good. All right, go ahead. What are you gonna say?
He was offered. The people liked him. The studio people. So they offered him to do 6 movies and $1 million under the table.
Yeah, and like $1 million per movie or something.
Which is funny because the reason Sean Connery didn't do this movie was because he wanted more money to do this movie, and he wanted $1 million. He wanted to be paid $1 million to do this movie.
Yeah.
So I found it funny that
they but for one movie.
Yeah.
So $1 million was for the 6, and then under the table. So it's really $2 million for 6 movies.
But then you yeah.
But Connery wanted $1 million for one movie, and back then that was just craziness. You don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he turned it down. He kept on not signing the papers, and he grew a beard, and he just kind of, he became himself. He didn't want to be tied down as James Bond.
As he said it, Bond is a character, not a character.
Right, he's not Bond.
Yeah.
And as it came out, he just very clearly made that clear, and he actually turned it down on the Johnny Carson show. It was a big Johnny Carson was a big deal. I don't know if you remember him. But
the main lady from that movie, they showed a clip of her calling him stupid for not taking the deal.
Yeah.
Everybody thought he was crazy.
Yeah. I mean, he walked away from Bond.
A multi-million-dollar deal.
You don't... Well, it's only $1 million.
$2 million.
Well, under the table, it was...
It was $1 million to the public.
Yeah. It was still a big deal at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, he turned it down, and he wanted to be true to himself, and that's a great lesson for anybody to learn is be true to who you are. Money is not the end-all be-all, although you need it. It's not the end-all, it's not worth your soul to be trapped in a thing that you just hate and don't want to do.
There's also a lot of drugs in his life.
Well, it's the 60s, everybody did drugs, so... So, sorry we had to change cameras. So, let's rate Becoming Bond.
5 stars and a heart.
5, maybe 4.5. I don't have my camera, so I don't know, because we're using it. So, yeah, 4.5. It's very good. Very good.
Yeah.
So, let's go on to On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Released in 1969. George Lazenby takes over for Sean Connery, as we know, and he is the youngest Bond. He is the youngest actor to play Bond up to this point right now. He was 29, I believe, when he played Bond.
Let me guess. Now Daniel Craig's the youngest.
No, Daniel Craig is older than 29.
Oh, so then probably Roger Moore.
No, I think it's just him. He's up to right now in this day and time.
I think he meant
he is the youngest to play. No, I know what you mean. No. Running at 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Ugh, so long.
It did not feel long to me at all.
The beginning, once again, it's one of those. The beginning's slow. I think it also depends on like the mood I'm in. But it was a little slow at the beginning, but then it picked up, and I thought it was great.
I highly disagree. It was not slow at the beginning. It was.
I did pause it a couple times.
He was. Well, that's why it seemed slow. You keep on pausing. It's gonna
because
it's
slow to me, so I had to like.
No, just watch it because it's a build-up. It's not slow. It's building the story. So basically, Bond. We get another thing that people don't talk about is Telly Savalas plays Blofeld. It's a new Blofeld
one's
actor. Cat. Guy with a cat.
Oh, so that was the guy. Oh, he didn't have the scars, so I didn't...
Yeah, it's a new actor.
Oh, I didn't realize that was... I thought that was... I was like, he looks just like him, but I didn't know if it was supposed to be.
Yeah, it's supposed to be him.
Do we want to, like, go over the plot?
Well, let's go over the people who are in it. Like I said, George Lazenby, Telly Savalas, who was a big actor at the time. A lot of people know him as Kojak. Diana Riggs, Bernard Lee, Gabriel Ferrizzi. Directed by Peter Hunt, who's directed many of the Bonds beforehand.
And
okay, do you know how to summarize it?
Nope.
Alright. So, summary of the plot. Boil it down real quick. Bond gets kicked off the Spectre case. He's not allowed to look at him, chase him, whatever. He goes to resign. Moneypenny, in a great move, transcribes it as 2 weeks vacation. They accept it. So he goes away. There is a underground person, I believe, I'm not sure the country, I think it's Greece maybe, that he knows, like, he's done illegal things, but he's not, like, killing people type illegal. So he goes to him. His daughter is also heavily involved. In the beginning, his daughter, he chases his daughter because she lures him into a trap with Spectre. So she is kind of working Spectre a little bit in the beginning. So it's this gentleman's daughter. The gentleman asked Bond to marry the daughter. In return, he'll give him the information on where Spectre is. And Bond says yes, but the daughter does not want any of it. She says she wants it to happen naturally, if he wants to. So he's still chasing Spectre.
Yeah.
Spectre is now... Blofeld is held up, and they think he's like a scientist curing allergies in the Alps in Switzerland. So he gathers all these ladies to cure their allergies, and they do have allergies. I do this because he is kind of curing the allergies, but he's also programming them to release a deadly hazard in the crops, so the crops will die. So he calls the World Trade Organization to ransom, and they're gonna give in to him because Bond isn't looking for them. Like, they don't think Bond knows who he is, and they're just gonna give in to it. Bond says no to that, and they end up falling in love as him and the lady from before, Diana Rigg, from before, and she helps him catch up Blofeld, or at least take him down. There's great action, great scenes. Blofeld, you think he's dead. So at the end, Bond gets married to her. They're very happy. I hope you've watched this. We're going to spoil this movie, so here's your warning. They pull over to the side.
It's the old
and they're very happy, and she's like, I can't wait to see, the sunset or whatever. And she's like, just slow down, we have plenty of time, because he's driving fast. And Blofeld is not dead, and neither is his henchman lady, and they shoot his wife.
Yeah. Right in the
and he holds her at the end. He's like, there's time. It's so sad. Oh my god. So, that's basically the whole movie.
Before I forget, because I want to mention it, that scene in Becoming Bond, which is also, they talk about in Becoming Bond, in this movie, there's a scene where they're all at the table when they're up in the Alps, and he's wearing a kilt, right?
Kilt, yeah.
And the producers, or like the stage people,
the stagehands tapped the kielbasa.
They thought it would be funny, so they taped a kielbasa thing to his leg. And the scene that you see when she's writing the number on his inside of his
her room
leg,
number, yeah,
like that, the sausage was in there, and she just didn't react. And it was just kind of funny.
It's very good.
I'm in room.
No, he will give the book to me.
I will pass it to everyone in turn. It is fair like that, yes?
Of course, if you think so, Fräulein.
Is anything the matter, Sir Hilary?
Just a slight stiffness coming on in the shoulder.
Because I didn't know that until after.
Yeah.
You had me watch it after, but you watched it before.
Because I'd seen it before.
Yeah.
So. All right. Let's go with some notes here. Q's right up front. He's not really in this a lot. It's very Bond-centric. This is... Okay. So this is... I'm just going to say it. 5 stars. Like...
Oh, yeah.
My favorite Bond. Like, this is my favorite Bond movie.
Second favorite. I still put Russia above it.
I can see that. Russia with Love is also amazing. But this is on that line where...
Yeah.
It's equal, like... The lines are good. The action's good. The detective work is good. Like, everything, like, clicks. It's so good.
Everything works up until the ending. The ending's perfect.
Yeah, the ending is great.
For once, it's not a happy ending.
No, in the action is really good. Like, the skiing action is particularly well done. You can tell that, like, it's projected behind them at some points. But they show, like, the skiers and stuff. The special effects are good. Just George Lazenby is a goddamn great Bond. He's one of the best Bonds I've ever like. He's a great Bond.
I wouldn't say. I don't know if I prefer him over Connery.
I like him over Connery. I like him over later Connery. Like I like him over the last one.
Yeah.
No. Like Bond wise, like the last Bond. I don't like that.
The only reason I feel
Sean
like
Connery
I
Bond.
like him better is he has more energy for it. He feels like he wanted to do it at that time.
Yeah, I mean, there's a line up front. He's like, the other guy didn't have this issue on the beach when he's chasing her. So I thought that was a funny line.
I like to think every time there's a new actor for Bond, that it's in the same universe and they're just changing Bonds. So like the other one retires, so they're just gonna put in a new one.
Keep that in mind when we get to Skyfall.
And like Spectre doesn't know that who the new Bond is or what he looks like. So it'd be better to like put them in missions where they don't know what the new one looks like.
Yeah, keep that in mind when we get to Skyfall.
Okay.
There's no opening song. So we keep on saying we're gonna talk about the opening songs. The Bond songs, I think we always forget. The one time we remember is because it's different. There is no opening song. It's a theme.
It's just
And the theme is really good. And it's weird that it's like a previously on type clips where you show the old Bond ladies and like old action, like the old bad guys, in the hourglass. It's a weird one, but still a good opening. Oh yeah, go ahead.
When they were shooting that scene, the director wanted him to do it like Connery, where he just turns and shoots, but he kept turning and kneeling and shooting. Mm-hmm. And he
did it once, and then he's like, "No, don't do that. Do it again, different ways." And he just kept on
kneeling.
He kept on doing other things that were totally ridiculous.
Yeah, so they just went
like he turned around all the way. He like do things so they would have to use that take.
And I like that take. I think it's cool.
Yeah, I like it too.
And because he's also kind of tall.
Yeah, he is very tall.
So it makes sense for him to kneel.
Yeah. He seems more... Not that Sean Connery isn't manly, but he seems more manly than Connery.
He seems more like... Connery seems
rugged.
like he was the Bond, but I feel like George Lazenby is like he knows he's playing a character and isn't in Bond. He's just portraying Bond.
Yeah.
So he doesn't feel like he needs to like. I don't know how to explain it. Just he doesn't feel like he is Bond. He just feels like he's portraying him.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And Connery feels like he is Bond and he wants to be Bond.
Right. And when he's under disguise in the allergy testing facility, I guess you can call it, he orders a different drink to try to throw them off to make sure he's not Bond. They don't know if he's Bond, the people there, until he messes up on one little thing about the offices being open because Blofeld wants to know if he's like royal lineage. So he's like, we have to go to this office. He's like, wouldn't it be closed? That's how they realize he's Bond. Hitting the skier when he was jumping, like when Bond was hiding when he was skiing, and they were chasing after him. They went to jump. He just smacks the guy over the thing. It was a great action scene.
I want to know why at the end of the thing they pronounce him Mr. and Mrs. James Bond. Wouldn't it just be Mr. and Mrs. Bond?
No, back then it was always like Mr. Stephen. Like it would be Mr. and Mrs. Stephen O'Parrish if we were doing it back then.
Ignore me.
No, you didn't know. It's fine. What else did you take from this?
I don't know which guy I'm talking about now that I look at it, but one of the guy looks like
Great notes.
The dad from To Kill a Mockingbird, the movie.
I don't know which guy you're talking about either.
If I saw him, I would remember. But so I watched this before you. So when you watched it, I came downstairs and I wrote in my notes something that you said, and we both said at the exact same scene. There's a scene where he's going up to the room to meet with the guy he later on marries, but it's some big burly dude that meets him there and fights him. And we both said at like the same spot, that's not Tracy.
Oh yeah, yeah. Man, this movie is so good.
I thought the whole time that Draco was part of Spectre.
Who?
The whole Draco, the girl's dad.
Oh, that's the name of the guy.
Yeah.
Okay, Draco. Yeah,
Draco.
I always think of Malfoy when I hear Draco. So, yeah, he's not. He didn't like Spectre because it was closing in on his turf.
Yeah.
So, he was happy to kind of get rid of them. So what did you give it? 5 or 4?
5 stars and second on the
Second, okay. Alright, so this was budgeted at $7 million. What do you think it made?
50 million.
Higher.
100.
Lower.
75.
Higher.
85.
Lower.
80.
Higher.
83.
Lower.
82.
Yes. Go 81, 82, 83. You gotta watch The Price is Right, man.
That's all I used to watch, because that's all Greg and Grampy would watch, was that and Wheel of Fortune.
It goes for, and I'm going to tell you whether the real price is higher or lower than what you said. Okay, then you're going to give me another bid, and I'll say whether you need to go higher or lower, and you're going to keep going like that till we get the right price. Okay. Got to work fast. Got to speak succinctly, speak clearly. Okay, ready? I'm going to show the price to the audience, and whenever you start talking, the clock starts.
$7.99.
Lower.
$6.99.
Lower.
$5.99.
Yes. $5.99. $5.99. Everybody in the audience, don't say, because then we'll have to. She'll lose her prize. So please don't yell out the price. Okay, now we're going to go onto the sofa. You have plenty of time. Look at that. You have like 27 seconds left. Okay. And if you get the sofa, you get the bed too, and you get $1,000. And when you start talking, the clock starts.
$8.99.
Higher.
$9.99.
Yes! $9.99. Look at that. Boom! That's got to be a world record. That's got to be a record right there. 4 seconds.
Well, you didn't learn anything while watching it.
Because I didn't pay attention.
Yeah, so it definitely made its money back. Highly successful. It is one of the most successful Bonds. The critics loved it. Like, it was a different Bond while being Bond. They particularly liked the ending.
Yeah.
It felt more... There were more consequences in this Bond.
It wasn't just, oh, I did this thing and people are going to forget about it later.
Right.
It's like, I did this and it ended up with something later on.
I love this one. Yeah. This one is really good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's it.
The next one.
What's the next one?
Diamonds Are Forever.
With Sean Connery?
Yep.
Returning.
Sean Connery.
Lash official Sean Connery. 1. And then we'll be back with Arrested Development. Okay.
At some point, always drink your martini shaken, not stirred.
Adios.
Bye.